I thought I had it all figured out. Amanda and I had been married for 5 years, and after countless attempts to start a family naturally, we decided to try in vitro fertilization. The excitement of finally becoming parents overshadowed everything else in our lives. But something changed during the IVF process. Amanda started acting strange, constantly checking her phone and hiding text messages. One night, I caught a glimpse of a message from someone named Derek before she quickly pulled her phone away. Before I dive into how my entire world collapsed, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. And if you have ever had your trust completely shattered, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you will want to hear what happened next. My life before this nightmare was everything I had worked for. At 35, I had built a successful career as a software engineer at a respected tech company in Boston. I always knew I wanted children someday. My own father had been such a positive influence in my life, and I dreamed of passing down those same values to my kids. The day I met Amanda at a mutual friend's barbecue, something just clicked between us. She was intelligent, ambitious, and shared my dreams of having a family. We dated for 2 years before getting married in a small ceremony in Nantucket. Those first few years of marriage were blissful. We traveled, advanced in our careers, and renovated our colonial-style home in a quiet suburb. When we decided it was time to start a family, we were optimistic it would happen quickly. The first several months passed without success, but we stayed positive. After a year with no pregnancy, we consulted with doctors who ran initial tests. Everything looked normal, but still nothing happened. 2 years turned into 3. Each month brought the same disappointment. I watched as Amanda grew more anxious with each negative pregnancy test. By our 4th year trying, we had undergone more invasive testing. The diagnosis was unexplained infertility, one of the most frustrating verdicts a couple can receive. No clear explanation meant no clear solution. The emotional toll was substantial. Amanda would often cry herself to sleep, and I felt helpless, unable to fix what was breaking her heart month after month. After extensive research and careful financial planning, we decided to pursue IVF. The cost was staggering, nearly $40,000 for one cycle, with no guarantee of success, but we were determined. We researched top fertility clinics and selected Boston Fertility Partners, which had excellent success rates and was covered partially by my insurance. The initial IVF process was intense but filled with renewed hope. Amanda had to give herself daily hormone injections, which I helped administer. We attended countless appointments together for blood work and ultrasounds to monitor her follicle development. The medication made her emotional, but I remained her rock, assuring her this would all be worth it once we held our baby. The first unusual behavior I noticed came about halfway through our IVF cycle. Amanda suddenly insisted on handling all clinic communications herself. Previously, we had always attended appointments together and shared all information, but now she claimed it was less stressful if she managed the medical details. Then came other small red flags. I would enter a room and she would abruptly end phone calls. Her phone password changed without explanation. One evening, she mentioned meeting her old college friend Zoe for lunch, but when I suggested we all get together sometime, Amanda quickly changed the subject. What bothered me most was how secretive Amanda became about her appointments. Some days she would claim to have early morning consultations that were not on our shared calendar. When I offered to rearrange my work schedule to join her, she would insist it was unnecessary. One night, while Amanda was showering, her phone lit up with a notification. I normally would never look, but something felt off. I discovered dozens of deleted text messages and several unfamiliar contacts that had been deleted from her call history, but still appeared in recent calls. The next day, while looking for a receipt in her purse for an item I needed to return, I found a coffee shop receipt with 2 drinks purchased dated during a time Amanda said she had been at a solo doctor appointment. The receipt was tucked inside a folded napkin with the name Derek scribbled on it, along with what looked like a phone number. When I confronted her about these inconsistencies, Amanda dismissed my concerns as paranoia brought on by the stress of our fertility treatments. She had a logical explanation for everything. The deleted messages were spam. The coffee was with a female coworker, and the napkin must have been given to her by mistake. Her eyes filled with tears as she asked if I really trusted her so little after all we had been through. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. So I pushed my suspicions aside and focused on our goal of having a baby. The day of the embryo transfer should have been one of the happiest days of our lives. We had 3 viable embryos from our retrieval, and the plan was to transfer one and freeze the others for future siblings. Strangely, Amanda insisted I not be present in the room during the actual transfer procedure, claiming she would be more relaxed alone. The clinic allowed it, though the nurse gave me an odd look when Amanda insisted. An hour later, Amanda emerged with a smile announcing the transfer had been successful. We had a photo of our embryo and instructions for the 2-week wait until we could test for pregnancy. Hope bloomed again, temporarily pushing aside my lingering doubts. As weeks passed and Amanda's pregnancy was confirmed, I noticed subtle changes in her behavior that went beyond normal pregnancy symptoms. She started listening to classical music constantly, saying it was good for the baby's brain development. She bought new clothes in styles she had never worn before. When I mentioned these changes, she laughed it off, attributing everything to pregnancy hormones. One night I overheard her on the phone in our home office. The door was slightly ajar, and her voice carried clearly. Yes, the genetic traits should be dominant. No one will question it. I know our secret is safe. When she emerged, I pretended to have just arrived home. The conversation haunted me for days. While organizing our storage closet the following weekend, I came across Amanda's old college yearbooks. As I flipped through them, a loose photo slipped out. It showed a younger Amanda with her arms around a tall, handsome man with striking blue eyes. They were standing in front of a medical school building. On the back was written, "Derek and me, first day at Harvard Medical." My stomach dropped. Derek, the same name I had seen on her phone. I spent the next day researching online while Amanda was at her mother's house. Derek Thompson was easy to find. Harvard Medical School graduate, now a renowned neurosurgeon at Massachusetts General Hospital. His professional profile mentioned numerous academic achievements and genetic research publications. Most importantly, he and Amanda had dated seriously throughout college, according to several social media posts from mutual friends that dated back years. My mind raced with possibilities, none of them good. That night I waited until Amanda was asleep and checked her email on our shared computer. She had forgotten to log out of her account. What I found shattered my world. There were multiple exchanges between Amanda and our fertility clinic requesting specific genetic testing that went beyond standard protocol. One email explicitly mentioned ensuring specific genetic markers are present and was followed by a response from the clinic questioning the unusual request. The next day, while Amanda was at her prenatal checkup, I searched our home thoroughly. In her bedside drawer beneath some scarves, I found a journal. I had never known Amanda to keep one, which made the discovery all the more suspicious. Most entries were mundane, but several pages contained disturbing notes. Superior genes will give our baby the best chance. Intelligence is hereditary. I need to ensure the best for my baby. Jim is kind, but his family health history is concerning. Reading those words, I felt physically ill. The Amanda I thought I knew, the woman I had shared my life with, was a stranger to me. Yet I maintained my composure, playing the role of excited, expectant father, while my suspicions grew into a terrible certainty. I needed more information. I arranged to meet with Zoe, Amanda's college friend, pretending I wanted advice on a surprise baby shower. Over coffee, I carefully steered the conversation toward college days and mutual friends. When I casually mentioned Derek Thompson, Zoe's expression changed. "Oh," she said, clearly uncomfortable. "Has Amanda been talking about him?" When I remained silent, she continued nervously. "I told her those lunch meetings were a bad idea, especially now." She immediately backpedaled, realizing she had revealed something unintentional, but the damage was done. That night, I created a fake email account using Amanda's name and contacted the fertility clinic with a request for copies of our procedure records, claiming we needed them for insurance purposes. The clinic administrator, recognizing what she thought was Amanda's email, sent over digital copies of our file. Among the documents were notations about substitution requested and special handling protocol implemented. One form had clearly been altered with different handwriting filling in certain sections. The next piece of evidence came when I found a home DNA test kit hidden in Amanda's gym bag. The instructions were partially read, and the collection tube was missing. Why would she need this, unless she was verifying something about the baby's genetics? I had enough circumstantial evidence to confront Amanda, but I wanted to be absolutely certain. I hired a private investigator explaining my suspicions and providing Derek's information. Within a week, the PI delivered devastating confirmation. Amanda had been meeting with Derek regularly throughout our IVF process. The investigator provided photos of them entering and leaving the fertility clinic together on days when Amanda claimed to have solo appointments. There were also records of phone calls, text messages, and even a joint bank account they had opened 3 months ago. The most damning evidence came from the clinic itself. The PI had spoken with a lab technician who, under the promise of anonymity, confirmed that unusual procedures had taken place regarding our embryos. The technician could not provide specifics due to medical privacy laws, but suggested I speak with the clinic director about possible procedural irregularities. When alone in our house, I would break down, completely unable to comprehend the magnitude of this betrayal. How could the woman I loved, the mother of what I thought was our child, have orchestrated something so calculated and cruel? Yet whenever Amanda returned home, I would compose myself, maintaining the charade of the excited father-to-be, while excited father-to-be, planning my next move. What hurt most was listening to Amanda talk excitedly about specific traits she hoped the baby would have. "I just know she will have beautiful blue eyes," she would say, despite the fact that both Amanda and I had brown eyes. "And I have a feeling she will be musically gifted." My family had no musical talent whatsoever. Each comment was another knife in my heart. As the truth became increasingly clear, Amanda had deliberately substituted another man's embryo for mine. I needed to understand my legal position before confronting Amanda. I consulted with a family law attorney, carefully explaining the situation. The lawyer was initially shocked, but explained that the legal territory was complex. If Amanda had indeed swapped embryos without my consent, it raised serious ethical and legal questions about my parental rights and responsibilities. He advised gathering as much concrete evidence as possible before any confrontation. Over the next 2 weeks, I methodically compiled everything: emails, text messages, medical records, and the PI's comprehensive report. I also installed hidden cameras in our living room and kitchen, making sure they were legal in our state for a homeowner to place in common areas of their own home. The cameras captured several phone conversations between Amanda and Derek. In one particularly painful exchange, Amanda laughed as she told Derek how I had been reading parenting books every night. "He has no idea," she said, her voice dripping with contempt. "He is so excited to be a father. It is almost sad." Derek's response was equally cruel. "Well, technically he will not be a father at all, just a glorified caretaker for our child." They discussed physical traits the baby might inherit from Derek, and how they would handle things if the child looked nothing like me. Armed with irrefutable evidence, I contacted the fertility clinic director, privately requesting an urgent meeting. I brought copies of all my findings. The director was horrified and immediately launched an internal investigation. 3 days later, she called me with confirmation that our embryo records had indeed been tampered with. According to their investigation, Amanda had coordinated with someone inside the clinic to ensure that an embryo created with Derek's sperm, not mine, was implanted during her procedure. The clinic director explained the elaborate scheme. Amanda had secretly harvested and frozen some of her eggs months before our official IVF cycle. Derek had provided sperm samples during the same period. A clinic employee, who was now suspended pending further investigation, had helped them create embryos which were kept under a different patient code. On the day of Amanda's transfer, this employee had switched the labels, ensuring Derek's embryo was implanted instead of ours. The employee had admitted everything when confronted with the evidence, fearing potential criminal charges. With everything in place, I decided it was time for the confrontation. I chose a Sunday morning when we had no plans. I set up my laptop in the living room with all the evidence organized in folders. When Amanda came downstairs, I calmly asked her to sit down. "I know everything, Amanda," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I know about Derek. I know about the embryo switch. I know this is not my biological child you are carrying." Her face went through a series of expressions: shock, then anger, then calculated confusion. "What are you talking about? Have you lost your mind?" One by one I presented the evidence. The photos, the emails, the clinic records, the journal entries. Finally, I played the recording of her conversation with Derek, where they openly mocked me and discussed their plan. As the recording played, Amanda's face crumbled. First came denial, insisting the evidence was manipulated or misunderstood. Then anger, accusing me of spying and invading her privacy. Finally, when she realized the weight of evidence against her, she broke down in tears. "It was never supposed to hurt you," she sobbed. "You would never have known. The baby would have been yours in every way that matters." "Except biologically," I said quietly. "You stole that from me. You made decisions about my life, my future, without my consent." Through her tears, Amanda revealed the twisted logic behind her betrayal. She claimed she had always had concerns about my family's health history, with its instances of dyslexia and high blood pressure. Derek, with his superior intellect and perfect health record, represented better genetic material. She insisted she still loved me and valued my stability, financial security, and kind nature as a father figure. She had convinced herself she was doing something positive for our family by upgrading the genetic component without my knowledge. "I was going to give you what you wanted," she cried. "A beautiful, healthy child. Does it really matter where the genes come from?" In that moment, as I watched her attempt to justify her actions, something inside me changed. The devastation gave way to clarity. This woman had plotted for months to deceive me about the most fundamental aspects of parenthood. She had conspired with another man to create a child intended to pass that child off as mine, and had laughed behind my back at my ignorance. There was no coming back from such a profound betrayal. "I want you out of this house by tonight," I said calmly. "My lawyer will contact you tomorrow." Amanda's manipulation tactics shifted into high gear. She cried harder, begging for forgiveness, promising it would never happen again, reminding me of our years together. When that failed, she tried threats about ruining my reputation and taking me for everything in a divorce. Through it all, I remained resolute. The decision had crystallized in my mind: I would not spend another day married to someone capable of such calculated deception. I gave Amanda 6 hours to pack essential belongings and leave. I contacted both sets of parents to briefly explain the situation before she could spin a narrative that portrayed me as the villain. Her parents were shocked into silence, while mine offered their complete support. In the days that followed, Amanda attempted to turn our friends against me with a distorted version of events that portrayed her actions as a well-intentioned mistake and my reaction as cruel abandonment. Most saw through her manipulations once I calmly shared the basic facts. With determination I had not known I possessed, I changed the locks on our home, secured our financial accounts, and filed for divorce, citing fraud and extreme emotional distress. My lawyer advised me on the complex questions surrounding the pregnancy. Legally, as Amanda's husband, I would be presumed the father of her child unless proven otherwise. The DNA evidence and clinic records would be crucial in establishing the truth. The legal battle began in earnest. Amanda's lawyer argued for spousal support and division of assets, despite the circumstances. Meanwhile, the fertility clinic faced serious questions about their security protocols and oversight. Derek, once his role became known to the authorities, faced potential ethical violations that could affect his medical license. The 3 conspirators who had so cavalierly played with my life were now facing the consequences of their actions. The weeks following Amanda's departure were the darkest of my life. Our home, once filled with dreams of family game nights and bedtime stories, now echoed with emptiness. I alternated between paralyzing grief and burning anger. Some mornings I could barely summon the energy to get out of bed. Other days, rage propelled me through frenetic activity as I purged our house of everything that reminded me of Amanda. During this period, I started seeing a therapist specializing in betrayal trauma. Dr. Maxwell helped me process the complex emotions I was experiencing. "What you are going through is similar to grief," he explained, "but complicated by betrayal. You are mourning not just the end of your marriage, but the loss of the future you had envisioned and the person you thought you knew. Through therapy, I learned to acknowledge my feelings without being consumed by them. The betrayal had shaken my ability to trust not just in romantic relationships, but in all my interactions. Gradually, I developed tools to manage the overwhelming emotions and begin rebuilding my sense of self. Support came from unexpected places. My boss offered flexible work arrangements when I explained the situation. Colleagues I had never been particularly close with brought meals and offered to help with household tasks. My neighbor Tom, a divorced father himself, became a regular companion for evening walks where I could talk through my thoughts. Most surprisingly, a small online support group for men dealing with divorce became my lifeline. In their virtual company, I found people who truly understood the unique pain of having your life pulled out from under you. There was no judgment, no rush to get over it, just solidarity and shared experience. The legal proceedings dragged on, complicated by the unusual circumstances. The family court had few precedents for cases involving IVF fraud. My lawyer argued successfully that I should bear no financial or legal responsibility for a child conceived through deliberate deception. Amanda's attempts to claim alimony were denied based on evidence of her misconduct. The judge was particularly disturbed by the recordings in which Amanda and Derek mocked my ignorance of their scheme. Meanwhile, the fertility clinic issued a formal apology and implemented sweeping policy changes to prevent similar situations in the future. 2 employees were terminated, and the clinic faced potential sanctions from medical licensing boards. They reached a private settlement with me that included compensation for emotional distress and coverage of my legal expenses. The unique nature of the case attracted media attention. Several news outlets and talk shows requested interviews offering substantial payment for my story. I declined them all, valuing my privacy above any financial gain. Some journalists speculated wildly about the details, but I refused to feed the narrative. This was my life, not entertainment for public consumption. With the legal matters gradually resolving, I focused on rebuilding. I sold our suburban house with its nursery that would never be used and purchased a small waterfront condo. The sound of waves became my nightly therapy. I reconnected with old hobbies that had fallen by the wayside during my marriage: kayaking, photography, and cooking elaborate meals just for the joy of it. Professionally, I redirected my energy into my work, earning a promotion I had previously been too distracted to pursue. On weekends, I began volunteering with a mentoring program for children in foster care. Working with kids who had experienced their own forms of abandonment and betrayal gave me perspective and purpose. Watching them overcome their challenges inspired my own healing journey. 6 months after filing, my divorce was finalized. The settlement was straightforward, with a clean break financially. Amanda retained no claims on my assets or future earnings. I learned through mutual friends that her relationship with Derek had crumbled under the stress of public exposure and legal scrutiny. Their grand plan for creating a genetically superior child while using me as an unwitting provider had backfired spectacularly. In an unexpected turn of events, Derek contacted me requesting a meeting. After consulting with my therapist, I agreed, curious about what he could possibly want to say. We met at a neutral location, a quiet coffee shop midway between our homes. The confident, arrogant surgeon from the recordings was gone, replaced by a man who seemed diminished by consequences. He offered what appeared to be a genuine apology, explaining that he had reconnected with Amanda at a medical conference and been drawn into her scheme gradually. He acknowledged that nothing could justify their actions and expressed deep remorse for the pain they had caused. I listened silently, neither accepting nor rejecting his apology. When he finished, I simply said, "I hope you both find whatever it is you are looking for," and walked away. The encounter gave me no satisfaction, but it did give me closure. I was ready to release the anger that had been my companion for so long. The process of forgiveness was not for their benefit, but for my own peace of mind. I did not absolve them of responsibility, but I refused to allow their actions to define my future. Carrying bitterness would only mean they continued to have power over my life. Instead, I chose to focus on rebuilding what had been broken inside me. A year after that fateful Sunday morning confrontation, my life had transformed in ways I never could have anticipated. My new home became a gathering place for friends, both old and new. My career flourished as I channeled my energy into innovative projects. The mentoring program asked me to join their board of directors, recognizing my commitment to helping children navigate difficult circumstances. The question of whether I would pursue having children in the future remained open. The betrayal had not diminished my desire to be a father, but it had made me more thoughtful about what family truly means. Perhaps someday I would adopt or find a partner who shared my values and dreams. For now, I was content building a life rich in meaning and authentic connections. What Amanda never understood was that a family built on deception could never thrive. By choosing integrity over convenience, honesty over manipulation, I had created something more valuable than what I had lost. I learned to trust my instincts, to value transparency in all relationships, and to recognize that genuine love cannot coexist with calculated deception. In the end, the most profound lesson was that losing what I thought I wanted had led me to discover what I truly needed. The collapse of my marriage, painful as it was, had forced me to rebuild on a stronger foundation. I no longer defined family solely by biological connection, but by the quality of bonds created through honesty, respect, and genuine care. Life continues to unfold in unexpected ways. The path I walk now is not the one I had planned, but it is authentic and chosen with clear eyes. Sometimes the greatest act of self-respect is recognizing when to walk away even from something you desperately wanted, when the price is your integrity and peace of mind. Have you ever experienced a betrayal that ultimately led to positive change in your life? Share your story in the comments below. If my journey resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories about overcoming life's unexpected challenges. And if you know someone who might be struggling with betrayal or difficult decisions, share this video with them. Remember, sometimes the hardest endings lead to the most beautiful beginnings. Thank you for listening, and I wish you strength on your own journey, whatever it may be.